good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show. I'm your host, Kieran Mack. Now don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please share the video when you get a chance. So today is going to be all about the essential guide to the Phuket Sandbox model. Now jumping into this, the Phuket Sandbox model is going to start on July 1st, 2021. The idea of it is it will allow quarantine-free travel to Phuket Island and then on to the rest of Thailand eventually. It's been drawn out a lot. There's been a lot of additions and subtractions of it in it. But we're going to jump into what we know is the pretty much the final script for it. So let's just start, and hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down below in the comments section and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So quickly at a glance in relation to this Phuket Sandbox model. It's applicable for international travellers who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 no less than 14 days before the travel date. They must also be from countries or regions with a low to medium risk of SARS-CoV-2 virus as announced and constantly updated by the Ministry of Public Health. They must also have already stayed in the said country or region no less than 21 days before the travel date. I will leave a link to where all these countries are kept in the description down below. I just found it today. All vaccinated international arrivals must be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 with a vaccine registered by the Ministry of Public Health or approved by the World Health Organization. Applicable for children under 6 years of age traveling with fully vaccinated parents or guardians, and applicable for children between the age of 6 and 18 traveling with fully vaccinated parents or guardians, but they are required to take a COVID-19 test upon arrival at their own expense. The children under 6 do not have to take any kind of test, just to confirm. All arrivals are required to stay in an accommodation establishment that is SHA Plus certified. All COVID-19 tests must follow the guidelines by the Ministry of Public Health. Travellers are allowed to engage in any tourism activities but are advised to strictly follow DMHTTA precautions to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. And you are required to stay in Phuket for 14 days if you plan to visit other parts of Thailand and will require a negative PCR test to do so. Now quickly, just to update you on the list, on the screen right now is the current list as of the 16th of June of the low, which are on the left side, medium in the middle, and right hand side is the high risk countries. Countries of noteworthy on the high risk side we have Philippines, we have Poland, we have South Africa, we have Pakistan, and this list is updated every 2 weeks by the Ministry of Public Health, but only is it sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs every month. So I'm going to leave the link to this down below in the description, as I said, so you can see every 2 weeks what countries are and are not on it. So pre-arrival, getting ready. This is all the stuff that you need to do to be able to come on your holiday to Thailand. In order to be eligible to enter Thailand, vaccinated international travellers and their children need to have all their travel arrangements in good order for arrival and entry. These include a vaccine certificate to prove that they are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 no less than 14 days before the travel date, with a vaccine registered with the Ministry of Public Health or approved by the World Health Organization. The approved vaccines are Moderna, Pfizer-BioNTech, Sinovac, Johnson & Johnson, Sinopharm, and AstraZeneca. You will need a valid visa, or if you're visa exempt, that will suffice. A COVID-19 health insurance policy with a minimum coverage of $100,000. There is a number of Thai insurance companies, and one in particular I've seen is AXA, that offer this insurance, and it covers all your travel expenses plus anything to do with COVID. But it only sells it for a minimum of 30 days. But the price I saw was about 2,900 Thai baht for this coverage per person. So there is insurance policies out there if you are looking and you cannot find in your own country. A prepaid confirmation of booking in a SHA Plus certified accommodation establishment. A medical certificate with an RT-PCR laboratory result indicating that COVID-19 is not detected, issued no more than 72 hours before departure. All these documents will be required to apply for a certificate of entry, which is required for entry into Thailand under the Phuket Sandbox scheme. The two websites down below are the websites that you need. The first one here is what's quoted by TAT, the Tourism Authority of Thailand, which is entrythailand.co.th. Now, it has a step-by-step approach, and we'll just look at it really quick on the screen now. Now, this is the website, entrythailand.co.th. As you can see, it has the step-by-step guide. Now, this will change once the Sandbox model has been published in the Royal Gazette. So basically, you go step by step. It'll tell you what you need to do. You go to the next step. Have you registered for a certificate of entry? Obviously, the answer would be no, so you'll click that. And what actually it does is that takes you to the COE thailand.mfa.go.th website, which is actually one of the other websites that I have shown you on the screen. And you need to go through that, and I'll just show you the different steps on it. So as I said, that website is actually the very important one. That is the one you need for applying for your certificate of entry. Now, the certificate of entry process is a little tedious, but we'll quickly go through it. You first need to register for a COE, a certificate of entry. Now, that doesn't mean you're getting it. You just have to register. You fill in your application form online and you upload your passport information page. The embassy, now this then will be sent to your closest embassy. For example, if you're in the UK, it'll automatically send it to the London embassy. If you're in France, it'll send it to the closest one, which is in Paris, so etc., etc. Now, they have 3 working days to approve this, but they normally do it pretty quickly. Then, once your registration has been approved in principle, you go and you find your flights, you book your flights, you book your SHA plus accommodation, you get your insurance, you do all your bits and bobs that you're meant to do. Then you save all this information of flight, SHA plus insurance, reservation, your insurance, and you upload it all onto the COE website using the login that you would have made in step number 1. It must be processed within 15 days in accordance with number 2. Otherwise, a new registration is required. Processing time can take up to 3 days. Now, I've heard of people getting their COE within 10 minutes of doing that final step. So it all depends on which country you're doing it from. Finally, once your COE is approved, you print it off. And remember that you need one of these certificate of entries for each person traveling. So if you're a family of 2 adults and 2 children, you need 4 certificates of entry. If you're a couple, you obviously will just need 2. Now, arrival at Phuket Airport. What to expect, what's going to happen. You undergo immigration and customs procedures. Please ensure to have paper copies of all your relevant documents for each passenger. Very important. Stuff on phones, your phone can go dead. You can lose battery power, you can lose your phone, but always keep paper copies of everything as well. Children under 6 years of age traveling with fully vaccinated parents or guardians do not need to be vaccinated or tested at the airport. But children between 6 and 18 traveling with fully vaccinated parents or guardian must undergo a COVID test at the airport. That is RT-PCR confirmed. Adult travelers must undergo COVID testing on arrival as well. Again, that will be RT-PCR test as well. And this is all at the expense of the tourist. You download and install the alert application or the tracking wristband. Now, just quickly to confirm about this. If you have a proper normal smartphone that you can download applications onto, that's all you have to do. If you're maybe an older person or you don't have a phone, or your phone is an old Nokia from 2001, you're going to need a tracking wristband. Okay, I'm not sure if there's what the charge is for this, whether you rent it and return it when you're leaving. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so you collect your luggage and then you travel to your SHA plus hotel in your pre-arranged SHA plus transportation, and you must wait in your room for your PCR test results. Now, this is very important. Once you get to your hotel room, you cannot leave until you get the results. Now, they say the results will be within 12 hours of you arriving. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you arrive, in the middle of the night or late at night, it probably won't make much of a difference to you because you'll probably be going to bed anyway and you'll be tired. But bear that in mind, you cannot leave the room and you will have to wait. Now, during your stay, some of the things you need to know. For travelers who wish to visit Phuket only, no minimum stay is required, but they must leave Phuket for another country on or before the intended departure date. For travelers who wish to continue the journey to other Thai destinations, they must stay in Phuket for 14 nights and thereafter will be allowed to travel domestically. You must stay in your SHA plus accommodation for 7 nights before you can move to another certified hotel. Undergo a COVID-19 test using PCR method on day 6 and 12 after your arrival, per the Ministry of Public Health guidelines. The approximate cost of the test is between 2,500 and 4,000 Thai baht. This is at the expense of the tourist. You can engage in tourism activities or enjoy services in SHA Plus certified venues and businesses under DMHTTA precautions. Now, DMHTTA stands for distancing, mask wearing, hand washing, temperature check, testing for COVID-19, and a alert application. For emergency, in case of having respiratory or other related symptoms, please alert the staff at your accommodation or contact the nearest hospital. And the operator owner of the accommodation establishment is required by law to report the name list and status of all foreign guests to the provincial authority daily. Now, for your departure, there's a couple of things you obviously need to know. 1. For travelling from Phuket to other Thai destinations, travellers are required to show a vaccine certificate and a medical certificate that say they have been tested negative for COVID-19. Again, RT-PCR test. I'm presuming that the one you do on day 12 will be enough for this. For travelling from Phuket to other countries, travellers are advised to follow the guidelines and measures announced by the respective country of destination. Also, remember your airline might have some rules in relation to you having a negative COVID test as well, so please bear all that in mind. Now, currently the flights to Phuket. Airlines that have announced direct flights to Phuket are British Airways, Cathay Pacific, El Al, Etihad, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Thai Airways, and Qatar Airways. Now, folks, always remember that although they have a schedule of flights, they can cancel them whenever they want, basically. So, remember when you're booking flights like that, try to get flights that have, that can be changed quite easily, or at least you can get your money back. Now, I've seen flights already being cancelled by other airlines such as Thai Smile and Hong Kong Express that were meant to be doing flights from Hong Kong to Phuket. Those flights for the entire month of July have all been cancelled now. So just please bear that all in mind before purchasing flights. Now, accommodation, your SHA plus accommodation. SHA is a certification for businesses who meet the basic standards of hygiene and health safety for their products and services in accordance with the nationwide measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. SHA Plus is a certification for companies or individuals who have received the SHA certificate and 70% of the workforce has been vaccinated. For a detailed list of SHA hotels and service providers, you may visit the link below, which is thailandsha.com. When you go to this website, it'll actually list hotels, guest house, all the travel agents, all the public transportation, everything. So you can see who's SHA certified, SHA plus certified. So it's a good thing to know, and it obviously it'll keep you, your mind at ease. So, things to know, important bits of information. Masks must always be worn in public areas, and if there are 2 or more people in a vehicle, you can be fined up to 20,000 baht for not wearing your mask. This is very important for people to understand. It's kind of become nearly like a culture at the moment to wear masks in Thailand. People are doing it everywhere. And you don't want to be the guy not wearing the mask. Okay? Now also, some other things you need to be aware of. when you go into a big shopping center, you obviously expected to wear your mask. You will have your temperature taken when you're going in the front door. The same when you're going into 7-Elevens or any type of business. They're all taking your temperature as you're walking in. So don't be surprised when somebody pulls a temperature gun up to your head and wants to take your temperature. It's normal here in Thailand, okay? It's mandatory that you book a SHA plus accommodation establishment for your stay in Phuket. Residing in a private residence is not allowed for COVID-19 control purposes. So I've seen a lot of people asking about, well, I have a home, I have a condo, I have a villa, can I stay there? The answer is no. A second guest who is already resident in Thailand can join a guest who has arrived internationally into a SHA plus hotel. Your accommodation must be prepaid before arriving. RT-PCR tests. Every hospital in Phuket can provide an RT-PCR test. The cost of the test ranges from 2,500 to 4,000 Thai baht per person. They can be a little expensive. I'm not quite sure what they are in Europe, but they're expensive enough. Now, obviously, private hospitals will be a lot more expensive than the public ones, so bear that in mind as well. You are recommended to only book an excursion with SHA plus certified companies for your safety. You are recommended to only use SHA plus certified restaurants for your safety, but you may dine at non-certified restaurants too. You're recommended to use only SHA plus certified taxis and transportation, but you may use non-SHA plus too if you prefer. If there are more than 2 people in a vehicle, masks must always be worn. And I have heard of people getting fined for having 3 people in a car and not wearing a mask, just FYI. If you test positive for COVID, your holiday will be over and you will be sent to a field hospital or private hospital depending on the severity of your symptoms. Thailand does not allow private quarantine once you test positive. The same will apply if one of your children tests positive as well. Now please bear that in mind. You're going to be taking a lot of COVID tests for your trip here, so there's always a chance you can test positive. And Phuket is not COVID free, so there is that chance, regardless of being vaccinated or not, of testing positive. If you test positive for COVID-19, you will be sent to a field hospital until you test negative, and that's how they do it here in Thailand. If you experience any COVID-19 symptoms, you must immediately get a test. If you travel in a group, everybody in the group must undergo a test. In the event you test positive for COVID-19 in Thailand, you will be responsible for the medical expenses which must be covered by your insurance. This is why they're telling people they must have COVID-19 insurance for a minimum coverage of up to $100,000. In July, bars and entertainment venues will be closed as per the government restrictions. As of today, there is still no sign of bars or entertainment venues being open, so please, if they're more than likely restaurants will be open and they'll be serving alcohol in restaurants, but bars and entertainment venues, not right now. After spending 14 nights in Phuket and you are tested negative for COVID-19, you are free to go anywhere in Thailand, but you must follow each province's restrictions. If you leave the Phuket and travel to another area of Thailand before the 14 days, you will be prosecuted under the relevant laws. Now that's something very important because I've seen people on Facebook and other social media going, well, how would they know I've left? I can just go to my house in another province. But look, if you get caught, it probably will be deportation because they're not going to mess around on this. They take these kind of things very seriously right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So please, remember that you're in another country. It's not your home. It's not your own country. And if you do get caught breaking the rules, there probably will be severe consequences for that. So that is kind of the end of that presentation. Just a couple of other things that come to mind in relation to that. Thai people can use it. I know they have stopped now the free quarantine in Bangkok, and Thai people now returning home have to pay for quarantine venues. So Thai people can go to Phuket and avail of the Phuket Sandbox, but they also have to be vaccinated, the same as foreigners. And expats who are abroad, who are on a visa other than a tourist visa, or diplomats or anybody like that, they can also use it to come back into Thailand. But again, they have to stay in Phuket for the 14 days before they go on to their homes or Bangkok or wherever else they want. So what do I think about all of this? And do I think it's actually going to work? Well, my honest opinion is no, it's not going to work. And it's not going to bring very many tourists in. There's a couple of things. Firstly, the COVID testing is too much. So you have a pre-arrival COVID test, you have an arrival COVID test, then one on 6 and then one on day 12. Now that's potentially on a 2-week holiday. You're looking at 4 COVID tests. That's way over the top. And then also remember that each time you're taking these tests, you're going to be nervous. You're going to be worried about testing positive and the repercussions for that positive test. And that doesn't suit people who are going on holiday who want to relax, because the last thing you want to be doing is spending 24 hours going, oh, I wonder if I'm going to be positive. Oh, I hope, or maybe somebody does get positive. Because please do remember, there is COVID in Thailand and there is still COVID in Phuket. So there is that possibility you could test positive. And of course, we all know what happens here in Thailand if you test positive. So you have to take that bear all that in mind. Now, the other thing is, I mean, as I said, there's 12 days to go and they actually technically haven't, published this in the Royal Gazette. So, I mean, there's not going to be many people coming at the beginning of July. So who do I think this would suit? I think it would suit maybe long-term travelers, people who like to come to Thailand maybe for 3 or 4 months every year. And there are people like that who like to spend the European winter in Thailand. So, I think it would suit people like that. They've been vaccinated. They don't mind spending 2 weeks in Thailand. They don't mind having to take the COVID test. It would probably suit them. But for the short-term holiday maker, who's only got a couple of weeks off work, etc., I don't think this is going to suit them at all. It's just overly restrictive, and doesn't feel like a holiday. It kind of feels like you're being monitored 24 hours a day, and we don't want that when you go on holiday. So I don't think those kind of travelers right now are going to be coming to Thailand. Now, there's other people who've been stuck outside of Thailand who haven't wanted to go and do the 14-day mandatory quarantine in Bangkok. So this would also suit, expats stuck outside of the country who want to get back in, and they've no problem to stay for 14 nights in a SHA Plus hotel. You can get hotels here on the SHA Plus for quite cheap, between 500 and 1,000 baht per night. So they're not terribly expensive. There's a lot of hotels that will be quite cheap, and the prices will be good. So, bear all that in mind as well. I think and I know that a lot of businesses are very disappointed with this sandbox model. They see it as being overly cautious, and considering that there is quite a lot of COVID in Thailand, they're wondering why it's so cautious. I think there's more chance of a foreign tourist catching COVID in Thailand than there is of them actually bringing it in. So, the balance doesn't make sense to me really there. But at the end of the day, I guess it's a beginning and we have to start somewhere. I mean, if they plan to reopen the country on October 1, this sandbox model has to really work, and show that, infections from abroad from vaccinated travelers, is non-existent. So we need to see that. But tell me, I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Do you think it's overly cautious? Is it too much? Would it be something you'd actually do yourself? Leave your comments down below. I try to answer as many as I can. Some days I'm a little busy and I don't get time to reply, but I definitely do read them. But I'd love to know what you think. If it was you right now, you had a month off, would you come to Thailand under these conditions? Just let me know. And thanks for tuning in to today's show. I really appreciate, all the views, the subscribers. It's just fantastic. So thanks again, guys, and we'll talk tomorrow.